Welcome to Keepin' It Real, your go-to radio show for fresh insights and vibrant introductions. Get ready to dive into a world where we offer you the latest in real estate wisdom and the juiciest community tidbits. From expert advice courtesy of top realtors to opportunities to give back through local charities, we've got you covered. Plus, we'll shine a spotlight on the young athletes driving our local sports scene and uncover the buzzworthy happenings both in town and beyond. Stay tuned for a jam-packed hour of enlightenment and entertainment right here on Keepin' It Real.
What's in a name? Everything. Long Realty has been a cornerstone of Southern Arizona's real estate market for nearly 100 years. Our name is our bond, and our agents are our strength. Trust in the name that stands for experience and expertise. Visit longrealty.com or call 520-459-4993 to connect with an agent today. Long Realty. Smart move.
We're the real wayfinders, the trailblazers, the go-getters. In a town where the desert wakes before dawn, we don't just talk, we make things happen. And when we speak, it's real, it's genuine, and it's worth hearing. Tune in every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on Canyon Country 97.7 FM. Join the Sherry Ethell Team for Keepin' It Real, where top realtors, local heroes, and the heartbeat of our community come together. Raw, authentic conversations, expert market insights, and the best local events you can't afford to miss. Keeping it real, celebrating our community. Bold, genuine, one of a kind.
Cochise County, it's that time again. The third annual Pups on Parade is back at Doc's Watering Hole Saturday, November 15th from 11 to 2 p.m.
That's right. Join us at Doc's for music, food, vendors, a silent auction, on-site adoptions, and of course the all-shelter dog pup pageant. 10 amazing dogs from our local shelter will strut their stuff down the runway, competing in fun categories.
This must-see event benefits the Friends of the Sierra Vista Animal Shelter in cooperation with the Sierra Vista Police Department and the whole team at Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center.
Want to help our pups? Businesses and any community member who just loves dogs can donate a basket for the auction or sponsor a pup. $300 for show dogs, $150 for dogs back at the shelter. Call 717-599-2439 for details.
Sponsors get their name up on the big screens at Doc's, on the social media, and shout-outs throughout the show. It's a great way to give back and help the community.
It's a family affair, so bring your friends and family, enjoy some great food, and meet some possum dogs at the big show.
It's Pups on Parade, Saturday, November 15th at Doc's Watering Hole, because every dog deserves their day. All right, welcome everybody to Keepin' It Real. This is Dion Ethell, and I am your host for the Sherry Ethell Team, Long Realty Studios, Keepin' It Real radio show. And I'm here with some awesome guests from the Sierra Vista Police Department. I've got none other than Chief Christopher Heizer here in the room today. So thank you, Chris, for showing up here.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. And then I've got one of our fantastic, fabulous ACOs here. Brittany Schultz is with us again.
Hello.
So thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me again.
And thanks for being on the show last week talking about, Pups on Parade. It's today, by the way, everybody. So Pups on Parade today, 11 to 2 p.m. at Doc's Watering Hole.
Come see
and
us.
We're going to be running over there here just shortly and kind of setting up. So you can even come down and have breakfast and kind of watch us set up and maybe get a love on a dog or two. Part of the reason why we're here, Chief, is we're talking about the shelter, the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center, and kind of a little, I hate to say it's crisis, but it's kind of a tough situation that we find ourselves in, and we haven't seen ourselves in this for a very long time.
Yeah, Dion. So, from time to time, the shelter just gets packed full of animals, and we're always looking for ways to rehome these animals.
Right.
But also another part of this, besides finding homes for these animals, is slowing down the turn-ins, and that's what we wanted to talk about a little bit today. Is because we have a lot of great community engagement here.
Yeah.
Just we wrapped up October last month with a lot of community events, National Night Out.
Yeah, some fantastic events.
DV Awareness Month, and we had actually a candlelight vigil at the PD, a lot of community involvement. And we want to engage in community on this particular issue as well. So right now, we have a full house at the shelter, and that's after we had an expansion already.
I know, yeah.
So we just finished up an expansion last year with 14 more kennels plus 2 additional double kennels, which I guess makes it a total of 18 kennels altogether.
And so that brings it up to a total for how many dogs can he handle? Brittany, what is it, 80-ish?
Like 80-ish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
We're full.
And we're full.
Jeez.
And it's beyond that, actually. We actually have well over 100 animals,
Oh my gosh.
but some of them are in foster care and rescues. So we're bursting at the seams, literally. And so we need some help. And besides specials like the free adoptions and that we've been offering, and then Pups on Parade is a great example of putting some of these dogs on show,
right,
and getting them some homes, because they are great dogs.
They are great
You
dogs.
just got to find the right match, and it's events like that really help. But the other part of it is also asking the public, asking our citizens, if they have an animal they no longer want, look for some alternative ways to rehome it yourself if you can before you just drop it off at the shelter.
Yeah.
Do you have family members that maybe want to give it a try? People at your church, people at work. See if you can't help foster out your animal to someone and work that angle before it gets dropped off at the shelter would be a huge help to us.
Now, we know some of this, obviously the cause behind it is probably being driven by a few factors, but one of them obviously where the government shut down, some people are hurting, cost of dog food and medical stuff has gone up, in the last couple of years here. So we know that's kind of a bit of a crisis, but we know right now, everybody's kind of worried about it, and people are kind of jumping in and saying, well, I got to give up my dog. But there are alternatives, like you said. You could give to friends. You could look in your own circle of influence and see if you can't find somebody to help rehome it. But we also do like Sierra Vista Connects. I know you guys are there all the time.
Every first Thursday.
So if you need some dog food, there's opportunity there. So many people are gracious enough to keep donating food and other things, and of course we get food from other places, but that's pretty awesome that you guys do that.
Yes.
And some people might not know about that.
No, and you can actually come down to the animal shelter if you're a City of Sierra Vista resident.
Yeah.
You can bring proof of that, and you can actually get a free bag of dog food if you're absolutely in need. And so I don't please, if you
don't do it if you don't need it, right?
Well, yes, but if you need to turn your dog in because of financial needs just to feed them, let us help you feed them and keep your dog.
Yeah, if it's a temporary situation because maybe you're not working right now and you've got a bunch of kids, you're military or something like that, and it's just it's a taxing situation but probably temporary. Well, then that's a great reason not to turn it in and just hang on.
Yeah, we may be able to help you keep the dog in the family.
Yeah.
And also this community being a military community, a lot of federal employees. Yeah. People get relocated and they move, and that prompts a lot of animal turn-ins as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so we also look at opportunities to rehome those with again, people that people at work, people in organizations. And so think of it this way, you're avoiding putting that animal in a shelter environment. Because that shelter environment can be kind of rough. We have to do a lot of work on our end with the animals we have to socialize them and work to get them adoptable. And so, but going from one household to another household might be an easier transition for an animal.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chief. I know that even we talked about that, I think last week, just when you walk in, all the dogs are kind of going crazy and everything and pick me and going nuts. But then you get them out at the dog show or at Pups on Parade or something, and they act totally different. And they're like normal, everyday dogs and calm and easygoing and lovey, and you can go up and give them a big hug, and it's just such a different environment. So to put a dog through that for maybe no reason other than right now it's kind of just tough.
Yes.
Maybe there's some alternatives.
And again, back to the cost. There are rising veterinary costs for sure. We feel it on our side of the business as well with the care of the animals. But we have grants for spay, neuter that we have clinics. Yes. We can make this very affordable. And same thing with vaccinations. So take advantage of those clinics when we offer them. And again, if it's a pet food issue or feeding costs, come talk to us. See what we can do to keep the animal.
See if there's a solution there.
See what we can do to keep the animal in the house.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chief. I agree. One of the things too with those spay and neuter clinics and everything that we help kind of support through the Friends of the Sierra Vista Animal Shelter for starters, thank you, Chief, for allowing us the access to be able to do that. It's not every day that volunteers get to see the inside of an operation, and you've opened those doors to so many different volunteers. And we all love doing the work, by the way.
Good.
So thank you for that. And then just for the public who's out there listening today, you can't imagine how much work is being done at the shelter on your behalf as a community member. It's a staggering amount of work every single day. Never goes away. Those 80 dogs have to eat. They have to use the bathroom, and they got to be all that's got to be cleaned up every day.
And I tell you, we couldn't do this without the help of volunteers. That operation out there could not be sustained with just the paid employees. It's very volunteer dependent.
Yeah,
and so we rely on the dog walkers, people cleaning kennels, doing all kinds of extra maintenance for us. Whatever expertise they can bring to the table, we'll use. We also have soldiers helping us. We get a lot of help.
That's true. Yeah,
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. So we really rely on the community for support on this because this shelter has grown over years in a great way. And I'll bring up something. We're a low-kill shelter.
Yeah.
We very infrequently have to euthanize animals. And it's usually animals that are suffering or animals that are vicious, deemed to be a danger that we just don't want to put back in the community.
Yeah.
That happens from time to time, but we do not want to have to euthanize animals due to a lack of space. And
absolutely.
That's what we continue to work toward.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that before the show a little bit, that we kind of stood on that for a lot of years, that we don't want to do that. And so today's the day that we got to reach out to you guys who are listening today to help us with that and help educate people on, even just what it takes to have a pet. Sometimes people jump into that home, that pet ownership maybe a little too fast, and then they bring it back. Right. And gosh, that's so hard on the animal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very mentally draining for them.
Yeah.
To be kind of passed
What
around.
do you guys go through with that? When you have a dog that gets returned and then returned. I mean, what do you see happen?
Well, it's really difficult, not just a returning adoption, but like just your owner surrenders. This animal has only known you their entire life, or even for a short amount of time, they bond with you very quickly, and it's very taxing to see as an individual seeing an animal being ripped away from their family.
Yeah.
They pull from us. They don't even want to walk with us sometimes. Getting them back into the kennel can be really hard, and it takes them a few days to acclimate to this new lifestyle, but then they usually come out of their shell and they become happier again, and then they get adopted. So then you're super excited for them just to turn around and have that same thing happen again, even if it's to the same dog or a new dog. So not only for the animals, but for us it can be kind of hard.
Yeah, for you guys too, and that's a great point. I didn't even think about that too, because you guys, and bless all you guys for doing the work that you do.
Thank
because
you.
it is tough to see that. And see sometimes too, even the condition a dog might be brought in.
Sure.
And you guys are the ones who end up nursing that dog back to a state where it could be adopted again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's a big thing. These guys go through a lot. I can tell you firsthand experience seeing what they do. I know I would struggle a little bit seeing that every single day, and it's just. And I was in law enforcement, but I just I guess you get used to things being over there.
It's just like a mental shift.
Yeah.
And a lot of law enforcement officers who deal with people are used to seeing people things, but when you see a fuzzy, furry little baby,
my heart goes out to them.
Yeah, it's a little harder than it is with a person, and then vice versa for us. Sometimes it's easier to do the animal thing than it is the person thing, but we're just so modified in that. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, it is hard when we have to do both. Sometimes we go on calls that it's affected by the person and the animal, and it can take a toll.
Wow. Well, let's take a quick break with that said, and we'll come right back after these short messages with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty Studios. Keep it real, folks. We'll be right back with the Chief and our wonderful ACO here. We'll be right back. Cochise County, it's that time again. The third annual Pups on Parade is back at Doc's Watering Hole, Saturday, November 15th from 11 to 2 p.m.
That's right. Join us at Doc's for music, food, vendors, a silent auction, on-site adoptions, and of course the all-shelter dog pup pageant. 10 amazing dogs from our local shelter will strut their stuff down the runway, competing in fun categories.
This must-see event benefits the Friends of the Sierra Vista Animal Shelter in cooperation with the Sierra Vista Police Department and the whole team at Brua Animal Care Center.
Want to help our pups, businesses in any community community member who just loves dogs can donate a basket for the auction or sponsor a pup. $300 for show dogs, $150 for dogs back at the shelter. Call 717-599-2439 for details.
Sponsors get their name up on the big screens at Docks, on the social media, and shout-outs throughout the show. It's a great way to give back and help the community.
It's a family affair, so bring your friends and family, enjoy some great food, and meet some possum dogs at the big show.
It's Pups on Parade, Saturday, November 15th at Docks Watering Hole, because every dog deserves their day.
In a town with heart and history, the Sherry Ethell Team is the key. Serving service that we agree for military law and retirees. Stress-free process you will see. Personal care is our guarantee. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team, we never halt. Real experts here to guide your way, making dreams come true every single day. Trust a team that knows just what to do. The Sherry Ethell Team, working for you. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team is your one and only call.
All right, everybody, welcome back this beautiful Saturday morning. And it's the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty Studios, Keepin' It Real. I'm your host, Dion Ethell, and I am joined today by none other than our police chief. Chief Heizer is here in the studio today. So thank you, Chief, for showing up today.
Good morning. Thank you.
And then, of course, I've got our wonderful, beautiful ACO here with the Serria Vista Police Department and the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center, and that is Brittany Schultz. So
hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So we're kind of talking about a number of things. So if you're just kind of tuning in, we're talking about the animal shelter, the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center. If you're not familiar with that, that's our local shelter here in the city. And the chief, is talking about all the things there because it's the Serria Vista Police Department, given the authority and the requirement to run that thing, right?
That's right. So animal control falls under the Serria Vista Police Department.
Yeah.
And that actually is a good segue into the mission here. Besides the shelter business that we're in, which is a very busy business for us and a lot of work, a lot of demands in housing animals and rehoming them. The other part of our mission is enforcement. Yeah. And keeping the community safe. And animal control is a very important part of that, making sure the animals are vaccinated, that they are on their leash. There's a quality of life component to this that falls within the police department. Barking dogs, things that we can take enforcement action on. So that's another part of this. That's why it falls under the police department, is there's an enforcement part of it. Some of the animal control officers will get involved in some pretty heavy cases that may rise to felonies.
Oh, wow.
And they'll have a police officer support them in writing search warrants. Whether
is this like neglect or is this like other cases?
Animal neglect, animal abuse, cruelty to animals.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes. And so we've had a lot of times our detectives work hand in hand with the animal control officer. The animal control officer is the subject matter expert on a lot of this stuff, on assessing welfare and assessing the condition of the animals, as well as taking them to a veterinarian to get written assessments by veterinarians that are sometimes used in prosecution.
Oh, yeah.
But so we work hand in hand, and it all lends itself toward a good quality of life here in Serria Vista. We want dogs on leashes. We don't want them. We don't want them wandering around the park. People afraid because there's dogs loose, and that's something we're working right now on a campaign because that's a continued problem in our community. People, when they are at the park and are out in public, you can't take your dog off a leash. You can be cited for that. And we are doing some education and enforcement on that. We are going to continue to do that. And then also with the cases that we work, whether it be animal neglect, hoarding cases, we also need to make sure we have some reserve space at the shelter for those cases.
Right.
That's why we can't just fill up every kennel all the time with strays. And we actually need to have, sometimes we seize them under a search warrant, or we take them in because they are evidence in a case. And that's another part of this that's
a lot of people probably don't know.
They don't realize that's part of our mission, that animal has actually been victimized through cruelty.
Oh, wow.
And evidence in the case. And we have you need to rehab them with veterinarian, and ultimately the success story on this is not only is the offender held accountable, but we find a better home for this animal. That's the outcome, and sometimes that takes months.
Yeah,
months. And
now, Chief, I got a question for you. So if you arrest somebody and they happen to have a pet, then you'll take them in as well.
That's correct. We have an obligation. If somebody has, let's say, for example, we arrest somebody, they have a dog in their car, and they're living out of their car. We have an obligation to get that dog into the somewhere safe where it can be cared for, and whether it be a rescue or a foster or the shelter. For us, it's usually the first person we call is a shelter, and then they'll figure out if they can possibly get that to another rescue or something.
Outlet. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another thing is even when an emergency happens and EMS is called.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they have animals.
So somebody is elderly and they are sick or pass away, God forbid.
Yes.
I mean, that would be a case where you would also get a call.
We would respond to the location and remove the animal for safety so that we can make sure that it's being fed and watered properly. And then we work alongside our police officers to make sure that there is a next of kin if someone passes, to hope to maybe they'll be able to take the animal. And a lot of times it's really hard because that elderly doesn't get back into their home, and then we end up with their animals.
Some kind of longer term care.
Exactly, and then they just go up for adoption. So if you want to take an average week, we probably have 6 to 10 owner surrenders alone, not counting strays, not counting emergencies, not counting arrests, and not counting cases where we have to bring in animals.
So that really taxes the system. And it's not just, I mean, we always think of dogs, right? Or a cat.
Right.
But it could be any animal, right?
Yeah.
You get some odd animals. What's the oddest animal you guys have ever gotten, Brittany?
Tarantulas. We've gotten, tarantulas. I believe they were venomous too, if I'm correct.
Okay.
There's snakes. There's sometimes people call in like random animals in their backyard, and we've gotten a snapping turtle.
Yeah, turtles, tortoises, all kinds of things, all kinds of reptiles.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I remember somebody, when I was there one time, called in for a bat. That was in their house, and so they were flipped out about this bat that was flying around their house or something, and you guys came to the rescue. And so it's not just the average call. People, I think, sometimes don't realize how much they really do.
And if those exotic animals, some of them they can't legally even have.
Yeah.
So we have a legal obligation. And then obviously you also can't possess live wildlife, which is a game and fish violation. But a lot of times our animal control officers are the first on scene to identify that and maybe hold on to the animal until game and fish can take possession of it.
Yes, it can be a really fun job. And let me tell you, it can be fun. It's also stressful, but like yesterday we just had a ringtail cat call that our officer Kennedy took.
Oh yeah.
So things happen every day. You never know what you're
never know what you're going to get. Yeah,
we've had a pet deer before. Somebody was feeding a deer. Yeah, someone was feeding a deer.
And they were letting it into the house, or just kind of in their yard. And
that's before my time.
It was a neighborhood, and it was a neighborhood on the edge of town, and it was actually a fawn, and I think people were just got used to being fed. Not the right environment for that for a wild animal, so we had to take that out of the neighborhood.
Don't feed the wildlife.
Yeah. Well, I think people too. They see a little deer or something, and they think, oh, how cute, fuzzy little thing. I was actually up in Wyoming one time, and somebody approached it. You see all those videos all the time, and it was one of those kinds of things where she approached this little deer, and this deer reared up and kicked her right in the knee and busted her knee. So pretty terrible.
Well, we also got Bowser the tortoise. He was actually a rescue. Our mascot at the police department is an African sulcata tortoise. Probably got out of someone's backyard. Because those tortoises are often kept in someone's backyard, but they'll burrow out.
Right.
And nobody claimed them. Yeah. They have pretty powerful arms and legs, and they can dig and burrow, as we've learned now that we have one at the police station.
And they live a long time.
They do.
So is this going to be a long-term mascot then? Maybe?
It is. He's probably going to outlive all of us, and he'll be able to tell stories about 10 chiefs ago what the department was like.
That's awesome.
But he lives in our courtyard, and he has a very good life. A lot of employees help him.
Yeah,
is he?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. So going back to something you mentioned about, just I wanted to touch base on the leash law thing.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the risks there? I want people to kind of understand where you're coming from in terms of, you got a dog and your dog's really well behaved and it's trained and it's got all this training and stuff. And so you let it off the leash to play a little bit in the park. What's the danger of that?
So here's a concern. You may feel like you know your dog because you live with your dog and you see it in its environment at home. You take the dog somewhere else, and now a stranger is jogging by. You can't predict the behavior of that animal. Yeah. People think they can, but I can tell you my experience in responding to a lot of dog bite calls, they cannot. Yeah. They didn't see this coming, but a lot of different things can incite an animal, and one of them is somebody running by or a stranger. Right. And that instinct is natural for an animal to protect or to run or to fight or to bite, and that you cannot predict that. And that's why we have a leash law. People might think they know their dog very well, but you really don't, because you've never seen them in this different environment or a new environment, encountering a stranger they've never seen before. So that's part of it. The other part of it is animal on animal. That's the other part of it is, you got to be able to control it. Animals they act very differently toward other animals versus humans. So there's so many dimensions to this. That's why we have a leash law. It's just safe to keep the animal on the leash, unless you go to the dog park where it's allowed within an enclosed area designated for that type of activity. That's why we have a dog park.
Exactly, right? That's the appropriate place.
Yes.
Well, I've even seen it, where, somebody's dog and somebody else's dog now get into it, and then a third party is trying to help break it up, and they end up getting bit.
Yes.
All the time.
All the time, because you're trying to get in there and help out, and the dogs don't know any better. They're just biting out of defense. And even a nip can cause a problem. I can speak from, we've talked about this before, Chief, that, my wife got bit on the hand one time, and you think, oh, it's just a little nip, but it got infected and almost lost her hand over it. It can be serious. Any of these injuries can be serious or fatal, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned, Brittany, one time about the rabies and other things, right?
Yes. So one of our jobs as animal control officers is rabies control.
Yeah.
Rabies is a fatal disease. So our job is to maintain it never even getting to that point.
Right.
Or not even having to question if the animal is vaccinated. And that's why we have a license law where you have to have proof of that rabies on file to purchase a city tagged so that we know that this dog is going to not pass rabies.
Yeah.
And once there's a suspicion of rabies, and the animal has to go through quarantine, possibly has to go off for testing, and then if that animal was rabid, then the person has to go through all these shots, but you have to do this in a very strict amount of time, and if you don't,
it's rough too.
Yes, exactly. And if you don't, then you're going to contract rabies, and it's fatal. There is no coming back from it. So it can be dangerous.
And Chief, if something like that happened and you're breaking the law, you think that you're only going to be for a minute, and then something happens, is that person kind of liable for that action? It could be that you end up in a more serious problem.
Yeah. So you're not only are you going to be cited for having your dog off leash, or failure to control your dog, but also you're going to be civilly liable for medical and pain and suffering. You can be served with a civil lawsuit from the victim. So,
that could get expensive.
And then in addition, and just within the criminal proceeding, you could be also court-ordered restitution to the victim as well.
Jeez.
So there's a lot of different repercussions for this. That's why it's just best to follow the law. Keep your dog on a leash.
Yeah.
Wait till you get home in your own backyard. You take them off leash. And I have dogs. I have 4 dogs myself, and I have a German short-haired pointer who would love to be off leash at Vets Park.
Of course.
Tell me, she would love to run freely. I can't let it happen, And she'll pull me. She'll drag me across that park. She pulls so hard sometimes, but my obligation and to lead by example is I keep her on leash all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and you never know too. Somebody who's just a passerby, either walking or riding a bike or whatever, even a little kid who's doing that. They don't deserve that to get caught up in something, over that. So great points. I appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, Chief, and we'll come right back. Got some follow-up questions about the legal implications and everything of dog ownership and pet ownership in general.
Okay.
We'll be right back, folks. Keeping it real.
Discover excellence in real estate with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty, your premier choice in Cochise County. Sherry's amazing team brings honesty, expertise, and a deep understanding of the local market. Whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned homeowner, they're committed to your peace of mind and handle every detail for you. Their approach? Personalized service, above and beyond transactional real estate, building lifelong relationships, nationwide connections, local expertise. There's a reason this team is amongst the top realtors in Arizona and across the nation. You owe it to yourself to call or visit the Sherry Ethell Team, the top team at Long Realty, behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more info. Real integrity, real results.
Do uneasy markets have you waiting for the ideal moment to make home ownership a reality? Your answer lies in a conversation with Sherry Ethell and her exceptional team at Long Realty, a name synonymous with trust and reliability in Arizona's real estate landscape.
Hi, I'm Sherry Ethell, Realtor and Team CEO of the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty. Your ideal moment has arrived. We tailor our approach to you and your needs and goals. Let us put our extensive network to work for you and take the stress out of the process.
Whether buying or selling, remember the name Sherry Ethell and the Sherry Ethell Team. Visit the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard in Sierra Vista. Call or text 717-599-2439 or Google us for more information. Real integrity, real results.
All right, welcome back to Keeping It Real with the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty Studios, right behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard. We're here for all your real estate needs. But we're sitting here talking about the community, and I'm talking about it with the Sierra Vista Police Department, none other than Chief Heizer here. Chief Christopher Heizer is with us today, and I've also got Brittany Schultz. She's one of our amazing ACOs over at the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center. Before our break, we were kind of talking, Chief, about just the leash laws and requirements. I think, Brittany, you had mentioned about requirements for if you live in the city, getting them licensed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And is there any other requirements for pet ownership? And you had mentioned, Chief, I think, too, there are some animals that you're not supposed to have,
Yeah, some are restricted.
Some are restricted.
Obviously, live wildlife can't be kept as a pet.
Yeah.
And that's actually regulated by Arizona Game and Fish. But, there are exotic animals, poisonous reptiles typically are not allowed to be kept as pets. But, back to the laws, they all pertain to responsible pet ownership. And another one I want to bring up is being able to contain your dog at your house.
Oh, good point.
Ensuring you've got proper fencing and enclosures. But and if you have a dog that's going to stay in some sort of kennel of some sort, you're giving them adequate breaks, taking care of them, or else you could be also looking at neglect. So there's a lot. There's a lot of responsibility that comes in that, and I'll let Brittany kind of talk about.
Is there any requirements for like shelter and what kinds of things are required to have a pet like that?
Yes. So any animal that's being left outside that is your personal animal needs to be taken care of properly. Shelter needs to be accessible for the animal, and that's big enough for the animal to turn around, and be able to lay in each way, stretch around, stand up, and be able to exit without any obstacles or any squeezing to get into it. For example, a large dog needs to have a large enclosure, not a small one. We do come across that, like, oh, there's a doghouse. I'm like, okay, well, yes, I appreciate the doghouse, but it needs to be big enough for your animal to, get away from
use it.
Yeah, to get away from the elements of the weather, and that's wind, rain, sun, snow, all of that. And so you also need to have adequate water accessible for them to drink at all times. Food is supposed to be and should be given to them or have access to it. We understand in Arizona that there's ants, that there's bugs, that sometimes it's not really feasible to have dog food accessible, especially if they're not ones that eat their food right away, because that also contracts tons of wildlife. And so we work around that one, but making sure that the animals are, being cared for, and then if you have to understand if your dog's a barker or not, if they're going to go outside and cause
What is
havoc.
the barking rules? I mean, is there in city? Is there Is that just like a noise nuisance, a noise violation?
Yeah, so it's a nuisance animal, barking dog complaint.
Yeah.
There's a lot of investigating that goes into this because anyone can complain about a dog being annoying to someone.
Yeah.
It's just our job to go out and investigate that. Usually we sit in the area close by for 10, 20 minutes so that we can see it. One, if it's being stimulated. Is there a feral cat making the dog go crazy? Is there construction happening in the area? Is the mailman dropping off a package? Because if they're barking for 2 minutes because
my dogs will bark like heck if you come up my gate. They're gonna.
It's the incessant barking that is not reasonable, and that's where an owner can be cited. It's a dog that's just continuously barking.
Right.
There's no stimulus that's causing them to bark necessarily. For example, the mailman dropping off mail or something like that. But if there's that incessant barking, and something that animal control has done in the past is they've actually worked with neighbors and done mediations to work through this.
Yeah, we'll do mediations. We also
no kidding.
This is big
barking
dog investigation. So we go to your neighbors and see, hey, is there any barking dogs in the area that are bothersome to you? And that's all we say, and they say yes or no. And if they say yes, we investigate, okay, what house is that? To see if there's more people that are experiencing the same issue.
Okay.
And then, we also do mediation where we'll bring the both parties in and say, hey, let's come up with a plan.
Add another thing to the list of the many things that I didn't know you did.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Because I'll tell you, that's one that they really want to get a resolution on. Another one that to just keep kind of keep in your mind is dogs will also bark if they're begging to come inside and there's no one to let them inside. If you know that's a behavior of your dog, you're going to need to address that because that would be inappropriate for neighbors to have to listen to that. So dogs standing at the back sliding glass door barking for a half hour to be let in, that's causing a quality of life issue for the neighbors, and that needs to be addressed.
What about and I'm just curious here, I know some dogs that are outside dogs have the free roam of their little property here, their yard, maybe it's fenced in, or it's got block fences or cyclone fences, but then you've got others who will go out there and just latch on a big chain and they're stuck to a tree out there. Are there any rules to that?
So there is not a law against chaining or leashing your animal, but there are stipulations with doing so. So it needs to be long enough for them to be able to move around. They cannot get tangled for any reason. So if there are, trees and tons of junk around
debris,
that they're going to get tangled up on, then you're going to get in trouble for that because that's neglecting the way that they can move. Then they no longer can get out of the sun, can't reach their water. Tons of animals can pass away from being too long of a lead that they jump over a fence and possibly hang themselves.
Oh my gosh,
so
I didn't even think about that.
Tons of stipulations with having a lead. Now, do I agree that some dogs need it? Yes, especially some huskies, that are constantly jumping and getting out.
Right.
But it's the owner's responsibility to know their animal, try to keep them contained, and if they're going to do harmful things while on a chain, then that's not for your animal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if you know your dog is an escape artist, you need to be responsible and prevent it.
Yeah.
And do whatever you can with your yard and your containment of that animal.
No matter how tall your fence is. Yes. I mean, there's not it's a 6-foot fence, so therefore I'm legit. I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter. Some can jump farther.
Some
of
them are escape artists because they find where the RV gate meets and they dig under.
Yeah.
You got to look for those things. And I had to deal with that with my own dogs.
Yeah,
I put some bricks down that I know that there's no gap that they can dig under and find a way to get out.
Yeah. Yep. I even at my gates, I have a little bit of extra fencing that sits over there for that gap, just because I've got a couple of them that are a little bit smaller and I don't want them going out. They're better. They're well trained now. I think I can open the gate and leave it open and they wouldn't come through. But still, you got to be mindful of that and expect the unexpected. Dogs are a little unpredictable. They're like little kids.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. And even the most well-behaved is not going to behave sometimes.
Mischievous sometimes, yeah. So, Chief, so you've talked a little bit about some of the other aspects of this, the enforcement side of it. How about, just in terms of, if you were going to give people advice who are listening now in terms of just responsible pet ownership, from getting the animal to, because I know some people sometimes rush into it a little bit. We talked about that a little bit earlier. What do you want people to know? I mean, what do you want people to be thinking about? What's the educational kind of aspect here?
Well, you mean taking an animal, there's responsibility. And you've got to remember that you're liable for the animal.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point,
so it's an extension of you. Think of the animal as an extension of you.
It's a great way to look at it.
You know, whether you take the dog out in public, whether how it's cared for, and so just be prepared for taking time out of your day to make this a quality life for the animal. And also, if with animals, a lot of times it takes time to get an animal trained, have some patience. Patience is required and some time. And I would tell you, it's persistence. Training an animal takes some persistence.
It does.
Schedule a little bit of time out to work on the training and working with the obedience of your animal goes a long way. But ultimately, there are actually companies out there that will help with that.
Yes.
Yeah, shout outs to some of our partners. I know, there's a number of them out there. Sit Mean Sit has been one of our partners that we've used a lot. But there are other alternatives, and it is amazing how they can turn around a pet too that you think is maybe like unsavable.
Yes. So I like to say that every dog trainer in the area is going to do like a free consultation.
Yeah.
And they're going to train you.
Right.
Because
it's mostly you.
It's training the owner.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what you need to look for. This is what they're actually asking. Sometimes people just don't understand certain body language or actual needs.
Right.
And so a lot of times the professionals come in and be like, hey, this is actually what's going on. And this is how you can correct it.
Yeah.
And like, hey, if it's a behavioral thing, what's causing that behavior? And then let's fix it.
Yeah.
So.
I got a fantastic friend of mine who, he's retired law enforcement, really conscientious, really good guy, but he hasn't owned a dog since he was a kid. And he decided, I'm going to rescue a dog. And he got a dog, and it was kind of a challenging one. It was one of those that was really tough.
I remember this guy.
Yes. Yeah. And I think her name was Breeze at the time.
Yep.
And just the sweetest little dog, but very timid, lots of internal, hiding and stuff. And he was just struggling with it. And then I introduced him to Sit Mean Sit, and he went over there, got some education and some training for the dog. And amazing, it's just like a miraculous change in behavior, because he was kind of doing some things thinking, well, I'm trying to give it some space, I'm trying to do this, or I'm trying to do that. And that's exactly the opposite of what he needed to do.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so he was actually training it to kind of go down the rabbit hole of not being a good, well-trained.
I honestly applaud him because he did take on a special case with that dog.
That was a tough one.
Yeah.
She was so sweet and so loving, but it's as if she's never met a human ever.
She seemed almost feral, and but she's doing good news to everybody out there who knows her, and that she's doing really amazing. And now she'll jump in the car. She sits by him on the couch.
Oh,
she knows how to come and place and all those kinds of things. She's still a long ways from being like your typical tongue wagging, dog.
Yeah.
But yes, she's come so far. It's really miraculous what a dog trainer can do.
And you know what? I tell people, look at that as an investment, just like you would invest in any other relationship. You invest in that animal, it'll be a friendship forever.
Well, and we send our kids to school. We do all kinds of things with our kids in terms of getting them involved in sports and scouts and all kinds of other things that cost lots of money. But we don't think about that with our dogs sometimes. Yeah. And if you just invest a little bit up front, man, it goes a long ways, and you got a really happy life. We're getting ready to celebrate my Shelby dog, her 100th dog birthday here in a month. And so I'm going to have a bunch of the neighborhood dogs over here for a little bit of a pumpkin cake or something. But
I love that.
But she's she's this stray that used to be an escape artist. And she would get away from people. And we actually went all the way. I found her in the field when I was in Texas, and then we gave her to somebody, found, like you were asking for, we found a home for it rather than take it to a shelter. And then it was escaping all the time, and they didn't know what to do, and they didn't get the training.
Yes.
And then I happened to be in flight from Washington, D.C., and so I stopped halfway in Texas and picked up this dog and drove it home with a rental car. And she's been the most amazing dog we've ever had. And she's over 14 now.
I love love
So
that.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Let me tell you about Wendy.
because
your
dog.
Yeah. Well, I wanted her to be my dog.
Your sponsored dog.
I really wanted Wendy. So Wendy was a shelter dog. She was actually a Walker Coonhound.
Yeah.
Just. I'm not sure her situation, how she came to the shelter. My understanding, though, she had a litter of pups, and I think she came from out in the county, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she was transferred with the litter.
And she just hadn't gotten a lot of attention.
Her, yeah.
Yes, didn't know what to do on a leash very much, and so I sponsored her and took her for a couple of runs myself, and then took her on a torch run and spent some time with her. I also walked around with her at the park at actually celebrating animals. And then we found her a home. I wanted to take Wendy home because Wendy turned out to be just a sweetheart of a hound dog. And I just... Again, I got to lead by example. I got 4 dogs. I do not have room for a 5th, so I cannot take her. Could not take her home.
But
thankfully, Wendy found a nice home.
That's
and
awesome.
has been adopted.
Great success story.
In fact, I need to move on and sponsor another dog here. Now the weather's nice and do that again because it takes a whole village to make this successful.
Well, Chief, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and hear about what you're hoping to do with another sponsorship.
Well, okay.
We'll be right back after these brief messages, folks. Hang in there and stay with us. We'll be right back.
We're the real wayfinders, the trailblazers, the go-getters. In a town where the desert wakes before dawn, we don't just talk, we make things happen. And when we speak, it's real, it's genuine, and it's worth hearing. Tune in every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on Canyon Country 97.7 FM. Join the Sherry Ethell Team for Keepin' It Real, where top realtors, local heroes, and the heartbeat of our community come together. Raw, authentic conversations, expert market insights, and the best local events you can't afford to miss. Keepin' It Real, celebrating our community. Bold, genuine, one of a kind.
Cochise County, it's that time again. The 3rd annual Pups on Parade is back at Doc's Watering Hole Saturday, November 15th from 11 to 2 p.m.
That's right. Join us at Doc's for music, food, vendors, a silent auction, on-site adoptions, and of course the all-shelter dog pup pageant. 10 amazing dogs from our local shelter will strut their stuff down the runway, competing in fun categories.
This must-see event benefits the Friends of the Sierra Vista Animal Shelter in cooperation with the Sierra Vista Police Department and the whole team at Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center.
Want to help our pups? Businesses and any community member who just loves dogs can donate a basket for the auction or sponsor a pup. $300 for show dogs, $150 for dogs back at the shelter. Call 717-599-2439 for details.
Sponsors get their name up on the big screens at Doc's, on the social media, and shout-outs throughout the show. It's a great way to give back and help the community.
It's a family affair, so bring your friends and family, enjoy some great food, and meet some possum dogs at the big show.
It's Pups on Parade, Saturday, November 15th at Doc's Watering Hole, because every dog deserves their day. All right, welcome back to the Sherry Ethell Team, Long Realty Studios, Keepin' It Real. I'm Dion Ethell, and I'm here with Christopher Heizer, our Chief of Police here with Sierra Vista Police Department. And I've got an ACO with us as well from the Sierra Vista Police Department, none other than Brittany Schultz, who does a ton over there. Known her for a long time. She's wonderful. Now, Chief, you were talking about, before the break, we were talking about how you'd done such a great job with Wendy and found her a wonderful home. Wished you could have had her.
Yes.
But at the same time, you were able to find it a great home, and now you're thinking about sponsoring another dog this year.
Yeah, so I think
coming year.
We're going to make this kind of a project, a Chief's project,
That's awesome.
to find a dog and spend some time with that dog. I'm a runner. I like to run. It's a good thing for dogs. So, if I could get a dog and take it for a few jogs and work with them and socialize the animal, make them more adoptable. And when that dog is up for adoption and I'm sponsoring it, it means I'd take that dog home too. That's what I'm telling the community. Okay. Come take this dog because I would take it home too. Okay. I wouldn't tell somebody to take a dog home that I wouldn't take home.
Right. No, I appreciate that.
And I need to go down there and find the next candidate here and work with them.
Correct.
And again, I like working with animals, and the shelter is an amazing operation. They have such dedicated staff, and I see how hard they work, and it's a never-ending situation of animal after animal, and just my contribution to help them out with everything that they're doing in their mission. And if I can get a couple more dogs at home that otherwise wouldn't have found one, that's well worth my time.
Well, hats off to all of you guys, because, I mean, obviously, Chief, you're setting the example. It's the leader of the organization and doing such a great job of it. I can't think of an event that I was at that involved the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center that you weren't at. And of course,
I did miss the dunk tank, and I apologize. I will. Yeah, I need to get back into the dunk tank business again.
No,
but
okay.
but thank you, Dion.
But you're always there and always present. And I think the difference too is you're not just there; you're actually involved. You're involved in the process. You're involved with the people. Here you are involved with the dogs, and you're not just, hey, I'm going to sponsor a dog and put my name on it. I'm actually going to take it out, walk it, and teach it some behavior. And I love what you said about the fact that I'm not going to, this dog, listen, community, everybody who's thinking about adopting a dog and who might adopt this dog I would take home.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
I really, really appreciate that. I think that sounds really great. And I think that's the same reflective behavior of the ACOs over there. You know, I go over there all the time and I see you guys working, and there's such compassion for the animals, but not just the animals, but also the owners that come through the front door, especially those, I've seen many of them too, who, the dog maybe is at the last of its life and it's a really struggle and they're having a hard day. And you guys are just amazing with the people. And, and too, there's a lot of people who, are looking for those vouchers. And I am sorry, everybody. Personal thing to everybody out there as president of the Friends of the Sierra Vista Animal Shelter, we help sponsor some of that stuff too. And it's just, there's only so many, and there's only so many times we can do it. We did more last year than we'd ever done. Yeah. And I think we did 7 or 8 of those spay and neuter clinics, and they're awesome, and we love to do them. They do cost money though, and that's part of it is we got to raise enough funds to be able to do it. And then you got to have all those people behind the day, because while you're gone and you drop off your dog's in there. We're playing music for them. We're petting the dogs. Some of those poor little dogs, they need a little bit extra attention. Yeah. And when they come out of surgery, they're a little groggy, and some of them are flailing around a little bit. So you got to go in there and make sure they're okay. And there's just a lot to do it. And these are all volunteers who are helping the ACOs that day. And so there's just a lot of work that goes into every single clinic, every single event. And you guys have done a phenomenal job, Chief, of just doing a lot of events. I mean, this taxes the department, right?
It does. And I will tell you again, it goes to the volunteers, and it goes to the shelter staff. And Lieutenant Boltinghouse is the lieutenant over the animal control, as well as other bureaus in the department. But he's involved a lot. And then Arlene and all our staff, Brittany, all the animal control officers, the shelter staff, the volunteers, they all make this happen as a team. And I would tell you, in the last couple of years, I've seen this, you talk about the evolution of a team. And when you see a team kind of grow and become high performing, well, they're hitting that. It's really great to see that. They're really doing some awesome things out at the shelter. And I credit that to the leadership of Jordan and Arlene, working with the staff here, and then capitalizing on just the amount of dedication and passion that these employees are bringing to the shelter, and making that meaningful for the entire operation. And it's just, so I got to give them credit. I'm just excited to always be a part of it, and things like Pups on Parade. I'm excited to be. Excited to be a judge there.
Yeah, appreciate you being a judge. Yeah, that's awesome that you're so involved, like every time at one of these events. And I love the two, at the shelter at the Nancy J, that it's not clinical. Like it could be. It could be that, it could be more formal and governmental. Feels like a family there, though. Yep. Between the volunteers and the people there, I say hi and everything. And it's just, even if that's the only time, and I think we mentioned this last week, even if it's the only time that you happen to see them during the week is when you do your little volunteer thing, or when you're at a clinic or something. You still, you walk in the next time just like they were your aunt or uncle or friend. And it's awesome. It's a great feeling. I think that lends itself to the leadership there, honestly, and to yourself and how you've set the stage for this is what I want as an organization. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Really, really cool. Mm-hmm. Well, last thing is like Chief Heizer said, is we've got Pups on Parade. Probably comes at a time that probably more important than ever is today. Today at Doc's Watering Hole, we're having the Pups on Parade. This is the 3rd annual event, and we are excited to have you. So come on down. We love to have the sponsorship. So many people have come forward to sponsor animals today, and we really appreciate that. A lot of people donated baskets. A lot of people donated goodies and things to sell. And there's some number of vendors and things there as well. But we really appreciate all that, and the people who drop $5 or $1 or whatever into the jars. All helpful. We love being able to raise the funds. But what we really want is we want you there. Even if you can't spend the money this year, come down and see it. It's a free event, family friendly. Kids, bring them, love on the dogs. These dogs might not get a lot that week to be able to get loved on. And so this is the opportunity. They kind of get out and strut their stuff and show their things. And so it's fun. Even if you're not going to adopt, totally okay. And I know that's dangerous sometimes for some of us. But that's okay. You don't have to adopt. You can foster. You could talk about volunteering, teach your kids some volunteerism. It's a great opportunity. You do have to be a little older to work in, as a volunteer in the shelter. But it's a great lesson to our younger generation, because at some point we're all getting older, and we need the next set of people to carry the torch. Right.
That's right.
So
That's right.
Someday. You could be chief of police and have to run this organization. You want it to be a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me and with the community out here and talking about Pups on Parade and talking about the Nancy J. Brua Animal Care Center and all the work that the police, do for us. I know we only hit the tip of the iceberg. I love having you guys on, because every time I learn a little bit more about your operation and things that we probably kind of take for granted maybe and don't think about. Like you talked about the leash laws and some of those things, or nuisance laws and the rules about, a doghouse even, that you might not think about, but they're very important. We want our dogs and our cats and our other animals to be healthy and happy and well taken care of.
Yep.
So, well, thanks guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dion.
All right. Folks, this is Keepin' It Real, brought to you by the Sherry Ethell Team at Long Realty Studios, right behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard. We'll be right back after these few messages.
In a town with heart and history, the Sherry Ethell Team is the key. Serving service that we agree. For military law and retirees. Stress-free process you will see. Personal care is our guarantee. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team, we never halt. Real experts here to guide your way. Making dreams come true every single day. Trusted team that knows just what to do. The Sherry Ethell Team, working for you. Real integrity, real results. The Sherry Ethell Team is your one and only call.
Well, folks, that's a wrap on this week's Keepin' It Real radio show. As always, we're so grateful to have you spend part of your Saturday morning with us. Whether you're sipping coffee on the porch, out running errands, or out shopping for a home, we appreciate you. If something we said today sparked a question, or if you've got a great topic or guest idea for a future episode, we'd love to hear it. You can drop your suggestion in the Keepin' It Real suggestion box at the front desk of Long Realty, right behind Denny's on Fry Boulevard. Or just shoot me an email at sherry@sherryethelteam.com, or call or text me anytime at 717-599-2439. We love hearing from you. It helps us keep this show real, relevant, and rooted in our Cochise County community. We'll be back next Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. right here on 97.7 Canyon Country, your first choice for legendary country.
Until then, stay safe, stay kind, and as always, keep it real, Cochise County.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Keepin' It Real radio show. Join us next Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. for more engaging interviews with top realtors and industry leaders, keeping you informed about the latest trends in real estate. Stay connected with us as we bring you updates on the dynamic events shaping our vibrant community. From exciting local happenings to noteworthy charities and causes, we've got you covered. See you next week for another edition of Keepin' It Real.